Hey everyone, it's George. I am home in beautiful sunny LA. Decided to obviously get the heck out of the house. I'm like, I need to get some sun. It's gorgeous. It's 82 degrees, and welcome to my latest video. I'm gonna first apologize. Obviously, this video channel started as my way of giving back, some wisdom to those future flight attendants and getting them ready for success. That quickly shifted, obviously. Due to the pandemic, something that no one's ever obviously expected. It's thrown us all through obviously loopholes. And honestly, I've been just keeping busy and just obviously working, and but I'm pleased to say that I did work my last trip on the 7th of May. I did go part-time for that month, and starting on that till after the end of May, and I was awarded a leave in June. So I am fortunate enough to still have a job, but I have voluntarily decided to take a step back from flying and kind of let the pandemic kind of do its own thing and just kind of get back to a better place. I'm hoping that I will be able to also bid for July off, and as well as August, just to take the summer off and kind of see how this all works out. But anyway, I wanted to make this video. Actually, I'm making two videos, so I'm going to make the second one after this. First video is, have we really hit the bottom in terms of demand? Obviously, for those of you who have been following, or for those of you who actually work the industry, you saw, in the U.S., demand go from a very high to boom, non-existent very quickly. And for the US, I personally think that happened in April. I think that was probably the worst month I think that I've seen, where people, you can count the number of people on a plane with a single hand, literally. Because I feel as a country we did get into the reaction of the pandemic as a very late stage, but again, that's personally what I think. I feel that probably late February, early March, that's kind of where we realized that as a country that how it was affecting us, and cities and states started shutting down at the end of March, and that's kind of where people were racing to get home and not be stuck in a place that is not home. I was one of those people. I did not want to be stuck on the East Coast. I would have been mortified if I had to stay home, obviously in place on the East Coast, a place that I am not familiar with, for an indefinite amount of time. And I think that obviously human nature took effect on April, and people just kind of stayed away from traveling. People were like, nope. Now that people that were sheltering into places, and most states and the country in general was in shutdown, people were like, we're staying home, we're wearing our masks, we're not leaving the house. And people were just kind of obviously making the least amount of trips out of the house as possible, and flying was the least thing that there was, the last thing on their minds. And that's kind of where we saw again the single digit passenger counts on flights, and people traveling for essential reasons, and obviously those heroes that were flying from one place from home to the epicenters, primarily in New York, health professionals to assist. Again, thank you, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, for your brave courage and going forward, and as opposed to stepping away from the pandemic. So, but right now, again, I can only say this because of the 1 week that I worked. Most of the flights were modified / canceled. I did see obviously optimistic numbers in terms of travel. I obviously only work a plane that seats 100 people, and going from that plane in April, where we were flying between 4 and 9, 10, maybe 10 at the most at any given flight. We were flying with maybe between 15, 20, 25 people on a 100-seat plane. So again, people were feeling more comfortable, and I feel that personally, I think that we went through the scary part. I think April was the scary part because this got thrown to us. Again, there is no playbook for this. No company, no country really has a playbook on how to address such a worldwide pandemic. You just have to kind of go with it and go into survival mode. Once the fear kind of eased down, and that was, I think, really where April kind of came in as a country, people started accepting it as the new norm in May, and that's kind of where people started to really still travel for essential reasons, but were a little more, I want to say the word accepting, I think is the best word to say, accepting of the situation. I say that because I talk to people on the plane and saying why, just curious, no judgment. I just want to know why is it that you're traveling today? And people will say, I want to go visit my mom. I haven't seen her in a long time. She's okay, but I just want to obviously have that connection. I had a gentleman. He was literally flying from Boston to Florida through New York because he wanted to go visit his dad. His dad had a fall. While he had assistance in Florida, he just wanted to be there for him. And he said, he's like, I know that I'm not supposed to fly. He's not dying or anything, but I just want to see him and be there for him. I get it. He was definitely more comfortable flying, and he wasn't a frequent flyer, which I thought was really interesting. And he had, again, accepted the new norm of flying and saying, I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to go visit my dad. He broke his hip. I think that's what he said. I'm going to go visit him and just kind of be with him. So I really think that's where the uptick in travel is coming from, where people have accepted the fact that this is what we're dealing with, and that they have adjusted the new way of traveling. Obviously, face coverings are a requirement on all domestic flights, and obviously airlines are doing their precautions to obviously ensure that passengers as well as crew is, obviously the safety of them is the most, the number one priority, if you will. I really do hope that we are in the L recovery, which is what a few financial and industry experts were talking about, where literally it was again an L, where here was the demand prior to the government shutting down, and it just plummeted to pretty much nothing. And in April we were at that flat bottom, and obviously the model doesn't go any further than that, but I'm hoping that it's we're out of the L and we're kind of going up a little bit in terms of like a glimpse of hope at the very end of the tunnel. I really think that I just really hope that we're there. Companies, states are starting to talk about obviously strategies to reopen. I know California is talking about how we're going to obviously start the economy again in terms of opening businesses and how it's going to just go from there. And I think once that starts happening, I think we're going to start seeing the uptick in travel. But that's going to be a whole other video. I'm not going to talk about that. I think for California, what they're talking about is they're going to start opening stores that don't require, clothing stores. I think they're going to still closed, but things that that don't need to be tried on, like electronics and things like that. They're going to start doing curbside pickup and things like that, where they're not going to physically let people walk into a store. They're going to physically just hand you their stuff, and you either buy it on an app or buy it pre-ordered, if you will, and if it's delivered to you, so that way you don't have to walk into a store. Stores that sell clothing, I think, are still working on how they're going to do that, because again, people trying on stuff, how are you going to disinfect obviously that dress that somebody put on, or a pair of pants or shoes and things like that after every interaction, so that there's a lot of touch points there. So as states start kind of figuring that out, things are going to start kind of coming back to a new norm. What the new norm will look like, I have no idea. There are some businesses that are still running like usual, but as more businesses kind of start getting the wheels turning again, I think that will promote the ease of travel and the likeliness of people going places. So I think that's where we're at. So again, I'm hoping that for a speedy recovery. I was freaking out in terms of how life during the pandemic, but I think I'm okay now. My stress is kind of obviously at a new look, keeping it down. So now we're at, obviously I have this gleam, kind of optimistic sense in the back of my mind that we're going to be okay and we're going to eventually get through this. So that's kind of where we're at. So If you are currently flying, please stay safe. You know, obviously wear your face masks and, you know, wear gloves and make sure that you obviously, you know, do everything you can to keep yourself and the others around you protected. If you're not, if you're at home and you're looking, I don't want to say looking from the outside in, but kind of sort of, yeah, if you're still, no, I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say that. For those of you that were looking to join, obviously, this career, please don't let this, I know it sounds horrible to say, please don't let this discourage you. I know that this is like an unprecedented situation, but don't let this discourage you. This will pass. I'm not, you know, obviously a wizard. I have no idea when it'll pass, but it will. You know, the recession passed, you know, at some point a couple years later, and we were fine. This is actually a lot worse, but I think we will be okay. Will we be as big as, you know, as an industry as we were before? No. So I encourage you, if this is something you truly want to do, to please stay optimistic, and your time will come. And it will definitely not be anytime soon, but please stay you know, focused, and you'll eventually get there. And, you know, we'll be waiting for you in the skies to be, obviously, to join us. But this is just kind of a reminder of, obviously, the sticking together. You know, obviously, you know, there's, you know, companies are competition, but, you know, when this happened, we realized that we're all one. Doesn't matter who you work for, what country you're from, we're all doing the same thing, and we're all united by wings. So we all are here for each other, so hopefully we will see you very soon. Bye. Now I'll do my second video.